So what I'm going to look at is explaining digital public infrastructure in general, but mostly digital public infrastructure from people's perspective. What is people's DPI? Because we are in discussion with a lot of stress on DPI, and thankfully Government of India is driving this conversation all over the world about DPI and its contribution. It has developed a lot of technology which actually promise to serve people and serving. So it's rightly poised that how do we actually redefine or just give inputs that what DPI means from people's perspective. So, if you really look at DPI, what the definition says, which is very ironic actually, it says, according to Wikipedia, DPI refers to digital system and platforms that enable the delivery of services, facilitate data exchange, and support digital governance across various sectors. DPI includes elements such as digital identity systems, payment platforms, and data exchange protocol designed to be scalable, interoperable, accessible, blah, blah, right? UNDP defines it as a set of foundational digital system. But in both these definitions, there is no stress or identification in that system is access or meaningful access. It's something like creating a lot of software, but how do I access software? That part is missing. Gates Foundation is slightly close in terms of definition. It says that it is like a road. It says that digital public infrastructure is like a road. Anybody can access, everybody can access, and it is access to many things. So that way, this one takes care of a little thing. But, very, very interestingly, when G20 was taken over, the presidency was taken over by India, they defined DPI must ensure no poverty, zero hunger, quality education, good health, well-being, affordable, clean energy. So if you really see that Government of India or here in our government, they really look at DPI from the perspective is that how it can help the poorest of the poor, how it can help fight poverty and all that, right? But if you go on implementation, it doesn't really look like that, this one says, which one? Somebody says that it is about UPI, it is about India Stack, it is about Aadhaar. Now if you go to India Stack, how many people are user of India Stack? Just type on Google and you'll figure it out that there are only few, it's a very top-down level of user base. Even if you look at UPI, who are using UPI so far? And who can use UPI? For using UPI, you need to have a smartphone. For use of UPI, you need to have an app or the knowledge to operate it. Then you should have a bandwidth enough to operate the transactions on UPI and all that. Although it is the largest ecosystem for payment inclusion or financial inclusion. Having said that, it is not still enough. It's not a system that really includes I'm illiterate in digital literacy, I can't access. I don't have a smartphone, I can't access. But if the same UPI is available in a village as a public infrastructure for people to come and do the transaction, then it's a public infrastructure, right? So the question that we are asking ourselves is that people-centric DPI means what? So what we are actually saying is that people-centric DPI is the one which actually enables the poorest of the poor, the unconnected, the illiterate, the uneducated, the people with disability. So all kind of marginalization is there, and yet I can access. It is like right to food. It is like right to water. It is like right to your information. But it should not be like I have right to information, but I don't have access to information. At the moment, I would say the way we are developing DPI is that, like government says that, for example, government says it should, it should be enabling zero hunger. How can I enable zero hunger? Which means, I'm taking zero hunger as an example. Zero hunger means the poorest of the poor and everybody have access to food. Right to food is there already, but I should have access to food. What does it mean to have access to food for zero hunger? That means the right that I have for access to right to food should be accessible in the place where I am and in the most easiest and the most convenient way. How will that happen? That means my Aadhaar is authenticated easily. I should be able to walk into the ration system to collect my food and go home and all that. And it should not be costly. It should not be subject to exclusionary mechanism. For example, digital infrastructure is 10 kilometers away for authentication. That means I have a lot of cost to incur to get that. So we can achieve zero hunger only when the DPI or the public what we are saying, digital public infrastructure. That means it's a public infrastructure. But it is now digital in the modern era, right? So anything that is a public infrastructure should be accessible to the people, right? That means access is, or meaningful access, transactional access, convertible access is extremely important for a DPI to be functional for the most marginalized people. And therefore, why I'm saying is that even though India is boasting about maximum number of Aadhaar penetration, maximum number of UPI penetration, very good system of India stack, very good system of several stacks and all that, right? You have ONDC, we have all those systems are there. But are those systems accessible through the last mile is the question that we are putting into as a devil's advocate. So why I am saying that DPI should be accessible to people is because it should be accessible to the poorest of the poor. And why I am saying that is because of these data. Look at the rural India, because rural India is a little far away from the mainstream. Rural India is having the marginalized people. Rural India is having the people with disability maximum. Rural India is also people with literacy, illiteracy. People in rural India is also who are in remote areas and the faraway areas and all that. So therefore, accessibility there is a very big question, and it comes through this number. You know, you can easily see we have 909 million population in rural India, but the internet penetration is only 488 million. We are already 50% is even in, because internet means it's a basic digital infrastructure, let's say. So that itself is only accessible to, so half the population is already not there. So other half of the population which is not internet connected or not having internet, how will they access the DPI? It needs to be close to them, no? Number one. Number two, if you see all these people who have categorized, look at an artisan. There are 200 million artisans who live in rural India. They are almost unconnected. How will we give them the DPI? Let's say they have rights to access to their, some kind of a scheme or something. How will they access without having a proper DPI? We have a farmer, 144 million, farmers are there who are, agri workers or something. They are mostly unconnected. So if I am saying, okay, DPI, digital public infrastructure, or let's say in real life road you have made, but it's not accessible to me. How will it happen? So if you ask this, I am a Dalit, I am an artisan, I am a tribal districts, I am a handloom worker, I am a handicraft worker, I am a person living at a panchayat level or an elected panchayat member. All these people are, and there is a population written, who are these people? And these are very important people. Elected panchayat member is a part of the governance. That itself is not DPI enabled. Right? Then there are ASHA workers, 2 million. They are not DPI enabled. Then there are, several population. So if you look at the number of people who are at the margin of the availability and accessibility of DPI is a huge number, and therefore I am asking a question to ourselves is that what kind of system we have created which is not accessible to even 40 to 50% of the people because of its inability to either afford it or access it or use it for their purpose meaningfully. And that is the way we at Digital Empowerment Foundation, we want to define DPI from the perspective of the people. These are the larger people whom we want to serve. The third part, is that now when we are creating DPI, if we know that DPI is serving people efficiently, then we are also making laws and regulation and the rules in such a way that digital only policies we are making. And that is an exclusion. So let's say government says that we have India Stack, we have, Digi Yatra, we have railway portal, we have so many, so everything you are platformizing, right? And saying that that's the only way you can access. For example, the example we have said in one of the thing is that there is an NREGA worker, that person doesn't have a mobile or a smartphone, and we are asking them to go onto a platform and put your attendance on that particular app, which he doesn't know or she doesn't know how to access. She doesn't have a smartphone. Once she learn how to access, buy a smartphone, then access this. She doesn't know how to fill a form, how to put an attendance, and how to put a photograph. All these are mandatory. So that means for the most marginalized person, in the name of efficiency, we are saying digital only policy is that this is mandatory for you. And if we are making mandatory for them, that means I have no previous option of either doing it in analog basis. We don't have a means of being counted by the manager if I'm working there. Ideally, actually, if you really see, attendance is a responsibility of an employer. Attendance is not a responsibility of a worker. I am coming to work. It's your responsibility to mark my attendance. I mean, you can always say that just put P here or whatever, but it's only P or thumb or something. It's not like open your mobile, buy a 10,000 rupees mobile, then you open an app, then if you're not literate, then you do something, then you upload your photograph. It doesn't even happen in real life. Actually seeing how do we mark attendance in any company or anywhere we go, we just write P, that's all, right? And if I'm an employer, if I don't provide a register, where will I write P? That's the duty of the employer, no? To provide register. So if you are providing register in real life, then in virtual life, why are you not providing a whole ecosystem where I can just put a mark that I am there? So I should just pass through biometric, you record it. I put a finger, you record it, right? But here you are saying, no, you buy a mobile phone, which is so many thousands, then you learn how to use mobile, then you know how to use an app, then you learn how to take your own photograph and the location photograph, and then you upload. So the cost of proving yourself that you worked is so high. So it's actually a violation of my fundamental right also, that I am working and I have to prove that I have worked, and therefore then only you will give me a house. It's you prove me that I didn't work, no? Why should I prove that I worked? And with so many nuances, right? So here the digital only policy is made mandatory without thinking the process that it will exclude people, it will be exclusionary, it will deprive people, So here, if the definition, if somebody is saying that there should be a platform, digital system, delivery system, governance across various sectors, it's actually emphasizing on the top-down model of management and not really the bottom-up system of inclusion of those who might have been deprived. For example, we should have a DPI, we should include more people. If I'm jobless, it should be so easy, right? You don't need a walking legs to walk through the roads. You can do anything sitting on digital, and that should be so easy. But it is not like that in many, many cases. And therefore, we are saying that the definition that we are looking at is this box. It is a public sector thing. DPI should not be treated as a private sector. At the moment, if you see, there is a whole, argument you can make is that most of the digital public infrastructure in most of the places is being enhanced or promoted or supported by private sector because it's technology. And government doesn't take ownership of, in most of the places, as technology, technology leadership. And but we have to argue that digital public infrastructure, clearly by definition, is a public sector provision. So it should be public sector. It should be government provided, so that we can ask for accountability, because government is always for the people, right? And it's government accountability. For example, you look at the entire gig working phenomena. They are hardly accountable because of their platform is hardly accountable, right? So we cannot go a platformization process that the way we have learned from the private sector in provision of digital public infrastructure. It's very, very important. We should stress in our definition, in our promotion, in our stress, in our diplomacy, in our advocacy, that digital public infrastructure primarily should be an accountability of a government provision and service to the people, right? They can use other private sector to support themselves, but they should not come to be directly accountable to the people. It should be only government who should be accountable. And it should be designed and made for the people, by the people, with the people. Same definition as the democracy. Same definition as constitution. Right? So for example, in NREGA platform provisioning, to create a better governance, you are excluding people because you did not design it from the perspective of the involvement of for the people, by the people, with the people. If you would have designed from them, you would have taken into consideration that most of them are illiterate, most of them do not know English, Hindi or any official language. They are oral, they are medium, they don't have a capacity of affordability of mobile or information or anything, or of all those things. So actual DPI is the one which is planned and designed with the consultation of people who are women, PWD, tribal, poor, marginalized, remote, illiterate, unconnected, unreachable, oral, farmers, artisans, laborers, daily wage workers, migrants, analogous, and those who do not speak mainstream language and certainly not English. Then only you are creating a system which is actually matching them. And it is not difficult these days because the technology has become oral. Technology has become oral and visual, right? And therefore, the real DPI must looked at as a state subject and applied as welfare using taxpayers' money and must be deployed bottom up. The DPI must work for the poor, unconnected, oral, the same people who you consult, you basically primarily serve them. The reason I am saying is that at the city level, at the top level, at the municipality level, at the city level, at the metropolitan level, most of the infrastructure are already in place to give them. The further automation means you are only easing the process for those who can afford it, who have multiple options. But those people who do not have multiple options, DPI, so according to me, DPI is the most beautiful push to create a modern digital roadways, but road is always an access. The shop on the road is a service. The house on the road is a service. Doing what do you do on the road is a service, but road itself is an infrastructure. So modern infrastructure should be built in a way that it goes to the last mile and to the last house in a village. And for that, we have an example also. India has an example. For example, Indian highway system and the national road system was not serving the poorest of the poor. Then government designed Gram Sadak Yojana. So we have that Gram Sadak Yojana. We have done, most of the villages are connected through the Gram Sadak Yojana. And they are designed as district road, village road, panchayat road. लिखा रहता है उस पे, the milestone says that there is a green one, there is a yellow one, there is a whatever, there are many there is a proper nomenclature of that one. We just have to adopt on that. So the bottom line is that we need to go through this circle and basically ask all the difficult questions to ourselves who are designing. For example, these are the voices of the people. It is saying, I am a registered NREGA worker. My attendance is employer's responsibility, not mine. So we need to take responsibility of that. It is saying, I pay huge bribe to middleman who does my work. I walk several kilometers for my digital access. I cannot read and write. So all this is voice of the people. This circle is voice of the people, right? And basically, if that is the voice, how do you actually provide a service that this voice does not become a dissent or does not become like grievance, but we have already designed in such a way, right? So these are the people's voices. This is the condition of the people and the number who needs this kind of DPI. This is the definition which is so far that needs to change according to the government India's claim on G20. And therefore, when you start serving, you can only serve by having this kind of definition in place. That's the real people's DPI.